Hi, good afternoon. Welcome to Caledonia Rich Summer Camp of 2020. My name is Chris, and we're doing some short series of videos here just to get you used to the VEX program at Caledonia High School and Middle School. Our intent here is to really kind of just give you the basics, specifically if you've never done robotics before. And I'd like to roll through just a small presentation so that to get you comfortable and feel for it. It's going to be overwhelming. There's a lot of information, but hopefully we can get through it, and I'll show you some resources that we can get to so that you have the opportunity to ask questions. Okay. So again, my name is Chris, and let's get started. A normal robotics camp would be about a 5-day, 2 to 3 hours each day. The first day would be kind of mechanical best practices, the game itself, what we're doing, how we're doing it. The second day would be to complete a robot or work on a robot. Day 3 is talking about lifts and drives and some of the good ways to do some lifts and bad ways to do drives, and good ways to do drives and bad ways to do lifts, etc. Day 4 is talking about motors and speed, and day 5 is talking about engineering designs, notebooks, and best practices. Okay. So today what we want to do on this video is we want to talk about particularly the game for the 2020 year, and where to find information for that game, where to find information for the robotics, and then really kind of just get in deep on the parts, and what to do with the parts and how to work with the parts, etc., so that you're ready to go at the beginning of the year. And the first thing I want to talk about is the game itself. So the game itself is played on a 12-foot by 12-foot arena. Looks a lot like this in front of you. The game itself, all the gameplay pieces in the middle are different every year. This particular one is called Change Up. This is the 2020 program for the year, and it's played with 4 robots. You'll see 2 red robots on the left and 2 blue robots on the right. And what you would do is you'd have 1 robot, and you're going to play against 3 other robots. 1 of those happens to be on your team, and 2 others are going to be on an opposing team. And all of these game articles are different, as I said, every year. And my intent is really not to talk to you about the game today. I'll show you where to find information on the game and how to play the game, or where to find information on how to play the game. But I don't really want to talk about the game itself because that could take hours to go through in the nuances of the particular game and how it's scored and what to do. But we'll get there. Okay. So here's some of the references that we can take a look at. First of all, we're Caledonia Robotics. We have our website here at Caledonia Vex Robotics. Here is the website itself. It's caledoniavexrobotics.weebly.com. You've probably used this website to join Caledonia Robotics for the 2020 school year. There's some great places where you can find resources, and this is where I'll put those videos. And then obviously there's other things to the Vex Robotics program here at Caledonia High School and Middle School. It is the same program for both middle school and high school. They do the same game or work with the same game and the same robots. So if you're new in this year as a 6th grader, you're going to do great. We're going to take you through, and you're going to do that for the next 7 years through middle school and high school. Okay. Next, what we're talking about is the robot events. Robot events is the place where we'll register your team, where we'll look at the competitions that are going on. So this is the robot events website. It's robotevents.com. I expect that your coaches would know where to go and find information on this particular program. If you're just a team member, team parent, you may or may not be on this website, but this is a great place to find information for the particular team. For example, here's the robot competitions. Vex IQ is kind of the middle school elementary program that we do not do here at Caledonia currently. We do the Vex, or we work with the Vex Robotics competition. So I'm going to click on this link. It's going to bring me to the Vex Robotics competition. And here you'll see all the programs, the tournaments, and events that are going to happen around the world. We are here in Michigan, so I'm going to go down here to Event Region Michigan. Let's scroll down to Michigan. And it's going to bring up all the Michigan events for the 2020 school year. Okay, so that is the robot events. So the first one is our Caledonia website. The second one is the robotevents.com, which is the international place to find all the robot events around the world. And then vex.com. Vex is the name of the program that we do, and they have their own website, and it looks like this. The Vex, this was a game several years ago, but here you see a 12-foot by 12-foot field with a different set of game pieces. They have the products that you can purchase for all the robots. They have education for the programming and for putting the robots together. And then, of course, the competition. And again, we are Vex Robotics competition. And this is where you can find the video on the Change Up game for this particular year. There are resources for the particular game, and this is where you would go to really get in deep about learning this particular game. And again, this is vex.com, vex.com / competition. And I'm sure you're going to see this video many more times throughout the school year. And this is where it's going to have all your game information, all your learn about this year's game. If you were to click on this, it's going to bring you to a link where it's only talking about this particular year's game of Change Up. And it will talk about the scoring and all the components and what to do and how to do it. And the last thing that I have here is for the competition VRC current game. And this is the game manual. And all it was bringing you to this link here and then finding down here where the game manual is. And all of this is the reference material, the appendices for the game manual, how to set up the field, talking about the challenge, talking about Vex University, AI competition. You can download to your phone app for this particular game. And again, here's the game video. This particular manual here is 44 pages of content information. Great resource, probably not a day-to-day reading event, but it will talk to you about your robot, how to manage your robot, how to set up the field, how to score, game definitions, etc. Okay, so again, this video is not really about the game. It's about showing you where to find the information about the game. What we want to do today is talk about your robot at Caledonia. So the first thing we're going to do to talk about a robot is how do you get started? So just diving right in here. It is a 35 by 35 centimeter robot cube. So it has to fit within 35 centimeter by 35 by 35, or it's 18 inches by 18 inches by 18 inches. And the first thing you want to start with is a chassis. A chassis is the bed of the robot, the bottom of the robot. And there's many, many different ways to do this. I've given you an example here of a small 15 by 16 centimeter. Here's a 25 centimeter by 25 centimeter chassis. And these come as kits. We have these kits if you want to start with those. You're more than likely going to start with a 35 by 35 centimeter chassis kit, which provides you a chassis for the size of the robot that you're going to be building. And we're going to talk about all of these aluminum and steel pieces. We're going to talk about the wheels and the bearings, the nuts and the bolts, and everything that goes along with it. But I wanted to at least give you an understanding of how do you get started. And you get started with a chassis. Okay. The electronics for this robot, they're pretty in depth. What you're seeing here is a lot of the electrical components. You have a microcontroller here on the upper left with an LCD screen that you can, it's a cap touch LCD screen, so you can touch into the apps that you want. Here's a USB charger and connector, which you'll connect to your computer to upload programs. You have a battery and you have a Bluetooth connection here. You have a charger, you have a game controller, robot controller. It kind of looks like an Xbox or PlayStation controller. Here you have motors that you'll use. This is all part of the V5 or version 5 set for Vex. You have a battery cable, you have other cables here that will connect to all your I/O ports or your in-out ports that are on the robot here. You can see there's 20 of them, 10 on top, 10 on the bottom. And different like battery clips and other things that will help you manage your power and manage your cables here. Okay, so let's go through them. This is the microcontroller, and on the microcontroller we'll have a power button, and you'll have 10 I/O ports on top and 10 I/O ports on the bottom. They're labeled 1 through 20. And in this screen here is a place where you're going to go to set up your settings, to set up your programs. You will connect this to your computer in the software that you're going to use to upload these particular programs. On this side of this brain, it has a place so you can plug in your battery, so it powers up. And this is going to be most of where you're going to spend a lot of your time programming and updating. Okay, and this is where all your motors will plug into. This is where all your sensors will plug into. And we're going to get started with those, and we'll talk about programming and how to do that. Secondly, this is your controller, and this is a basic toggle controller where you have one on the left thumb, which is an up, down, left, and right. This will generally control your wheels. Over here on the right hand side is again another up, down, left, right, which will help also control your wheels. And then you have some buttons up here. So up on the front here are buttons 1 and 2. They're two separate buttons, and these will control more than likely a motor or a sensor. And buttons 3 and 4 up on the left hand side in the front, that will also control some kind of sensor motor. These buttons here will also control sensors and motors. And again, they're set up just like a arcade games game piece of PlayStation, Xbox, etc. With a power button in the middle. And this is your controller. Okay, this is your battery. The battery will be somewhere placed on your robot, and this will provide all the battery for all the motors and the electronics. Because you're not going to be able to control your robot through a cable. You're going to have to control it through a battery, so it's all radio controlled. Next is your motors. These motors have basically 3 different flavors. Internally, and you can see the green right inside here, and we can unscrew these motor drive sets. These are inside of here are little cans. There's a red, a green, and a blue, and this red one is a 100 RPM, 30 geared 36-to-1 motor. It's a very slow, high torque. And then you have a green 18-to-1, which is a 200 RPM. So you see the speed increase, but you kind of lose torque, right? So it's a ratio of your motors. And the third one is the blue one here, which is a high speed but low torque motor. And these are all interchangeable. We can just unscrew them, drop them in, and screw them back up, and that's how you change your electronics. Here's your radio control for your robot. This will connect between your controller and the brain of the robot, which will be out on the 12 by 12 foot field. And this will be someplace somewhere, again with your I/O control or I/O cable, placed somewhere on your robot. This is a vision sensor, which you can use. You don't have to use, but this would be another sensor that you could use somewhere on your robot. And that will be about it. So just to recap what we've just done, before I go into structure, and I'll do another video on structure, but what we've just done is we've gone through really quickly the game itself, where to find some information basically for the game this year and for Caledonia. And we just started going through some of the V5 parts. Okay, some of the websites that you can do, and I will leave it here. And again, please, at any time, go to Caledonia Vex Robotics, roboticsweebly.com to find information or get a hold of us if you have any questions. Thanks for your time.